Hello folks, this is ValkoorDrakeRider. Today I am here at the Valiant Eagles Guild to show off a new version of chess made with castle magic as a demonstration so that they can enjoy it in their guild house. Um, but I wanted to include this on YouTube anyways, so that anyone who is interested in a different version of castle magic chess might get some enjoyment out of it. I'm not really going to be going over much of the castle magic and how it works. Um, as I said before, this is mostly just to serve as a demonstration so that those who want to play it can. But I still will go over a little bit of my design choices and reasons why I did things the way I did. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So if we come over here, you can see that our board is laid out vertically. Before, with our board on the ground, it was very inconvenient having to run through to get an idea of where each of the individual pieces were before you could go and make a decision about your piece selection and where you'd like it to move. So this way, we can control everything that we need up here at the front while viewing the entire board with ease. Now this button here, you can see that there's a white knight in it. It's indicating that it is white's turn, but it's also our button that will allow us to select which piece we are interested in moving. So if we go ahead and walk up to it, you'll see this jump sign appears for a second. That's just letting you know that you can use jump to cycle between the different controls that are available to you. But we're interested in selecting our piece first so that we can actually take action for the first turn of this game. So when we press X on this button, you can see that it will enlarge one piece, and that piece is the piece that we currently have selected. So once you've chosen a piece that you wish to move, so we'll go ahead and we'll use our knight down here at the bottom. You can go ahead and jump, and you get these new signs. You get a right sign, and you get a down sign. Now, these are used to control the position of this magic orb. This orb represents where you want your piece to actually end up at. So let's say that we want our knight to end up in this gold square here at the bottom. We are going to move right 2 times, and then down all the way to the bottom. Now, let's say that you actually decided you want to go to this square instead. You changed your mind. These buttons will actually, once they reach the bottom, will cycle back to the top, allowing you to go all the way back through to this spot. And then you can go ahead and jump again and get your enter button to appear. And pressing that button will actually complete the movement. So now the knight has moved to your desired location, and you can see now that it is black's turn. So just as before, black is going to select a piece. Now you might have noticed that I backed up and reapproached. I would recommend doing this when possible. Unfortunately, when it comes to turning buttons visible and invisible, you end up with a certain problem where the prompt from the previous button that used to be visible remains, and attempting to press it does nothing. This will overwrite your ability to use the current button until you back away and approach again. So it only takes about half a second, just real quick. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and select a piece on the black side to determine where we want to go, what we want to do. And let's say, horrible idea as it may be, let's have this pawn approach 2 spaces. So we go ahead and jump after selecting the piece that we're interested in. And just as before, we need to position that orb to be 2 spaces in front of that pawn. So we'll go ahead and move right 2 times, and then we want to get to the space above it, so again, we'll move down until it repeats to the top, and then down again as many times as it takes to be in the correct location. Then we'll go ahead and jump, hit enter, and our pawn has reached the location that we desired. And we're back to white's turn. So, now that it's white's turn, white is going to be very interested in taking that pawn. Now, fortunately, our orb is already in the proper location, and with our knight selected, it's going to be very easy for us to just jump, and hit enter to move our knight to take that pawn. So now you can see the pieces are overlapped, and clearly that pawn needs to be taken out of play. Now that it's black's turn, black has the responsibility of removing its own piece from play. So if you jump as normal, but again jump one more time after enter, you can cycle to the grave piece, and this is going to be in charge of removing pieces from play. So if you go ahead and you approach this button, and you press X, the piece that you have selected, which was of course our pawn, will be removed from play on our side of the board. And you can use this to remove any number of pieces from play. They'll go one after the other right, and then they'll start a second row above and progress in just the same way. So I hope this demonstration has shown you how to both select pieces, select locations, and then move those pieces to those locations. And also, of course, how to remove pieces from play. Now, hitting the grave piece, of course, doesn't end your turn. So, given that it is still black's turn, we can cycle all the way back, select a new piece, and continue play. And of course, if you want to bring that pawn back into play, you need only select it again, and select a location that you would like it to return to. So that way, in case you remove something from play accidentally, or for whatever reason, I don't know, you want to bring your queen back into play in case you turn a pawn into a queen later on, or any other piece for that matter, you would then be able to do so. So that concludes the demonstration portion of this video. So now I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the castle magic. Now, when we're looking at the castle magic, I'm sure the most prominent feature that will appear to you is going to be that very large wall of magic computers. And this is, of course, 64 magic computers, one for each of the different spaces on our chessboard. And these are what are primarily responsible for getting everything that needs to be teleported to that space, all of the pieces that need to be teleported, that magic orb, anything, any middleman in between those, all of them teleported to each of these individual spaces. So, basic way this is going to work, let's say you activate your right button. Your right button is going to activate this reflector, which is going to activate these magic sequencers, which are in charge of adding signals to these computers. Now, when we activate our right button, it's going to add signals to an entire column, as you can see, of these computers. And when we activate our down button, just the same as before, but now through this row of reflectors, we are going to activate an entire row of computers. So what that means is there will always be one computer that is in the same row and same column as the two reflectors that we currently have activated. So there will always be just one computer that has both its signal 1 and its signal 2. Now when a computer has its signal 1 and its signal 2, it is going to teleport this reflector to it. This reflector gets activated anytime you move the orb at all. So it's going to first be teleported to one of those locations. You can actually see the activation here. So you can see first the computers are getting their signals added, which is what's going to trigger that teleportation first, and then way later in this reflector is also getting activated. So they're teleporting and activating this reflector every time you make a move to a new location. And this guy is essentially going to be responsible for teleporting your magic orb to it so that it's in the new location, as well as teleporting and activating all of these reflectors. Now these reflectors teleport each of the individual computers to them. So now you have this chain of reflectors and all of their subsequent computers and the magic orb, of course, all being teleported to one of these individual computers. All in an instant, whenever you press one of those buttons. And these computers themselves are actually what are in charge of teleporting the pieces. So when you have a piece that is selected, that piece that you have selected is going to add a computer signal to one of these computers. And when you actually go to press the enter button, all of these computers are going to receive their second signal, but only one of them will actually have the proper signal to activate an AND. Now, once it activates AND, of course, it's going to teleport the piece that you desire, the piece that you have selected, rather, to that location. So, for example, if we had this rook selected, this computer would have signal 1 already in place, and by pressing enter, signal 2 would be added, which would result in the piece being teleported to it. And let's say you wanted the rook to move here. That's exactly where the rook would go, because that's exactly where that computer would be. And that's really the basic gist of how the system goes. I could go more into piece selection and other such things, but really that is the bulk of the project without getting into the intricacies. And I hope that you guys can garner some enjoyment from that, because I really do think it is interesting having these giant chains of items all being teleported to specific locations, especially in a very large grid like this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that those of you in the Valiant Eagles Guild who are looking to play this game have a great time and understood the instructions pretty clearly. So, have a great time of day, whatever time you guys are watching this, and yeah, bye-bye.